In today's Leeds news, Joe Piroe on Leeds start. Somerville called out for praise. Leeds under-17s impressive win. Cresswell dropped from squad. Parkin has concerns about Leeds at home. And can Leeds appeal Joe Rodon red card? Hiya folks, Stu here at The View on the 21st of September. I'm sorry, days are just blurring in. I've lost a day this week and I can't get my head around it, so sorry. It's 21st and it's a Thursday. There you go. Leeds news. Just a quick update on match reviews. I'm not going to do a full match review in this news video. There is a match review on the Just Joe show tonight at 9 p.m. I'll be on with the crew there as well to discuss last night's game against Hull, so you can check that out 9 till 10 p.m. tonight over on Joe's channel if you want to check that out. All right, let's crack into this. I'm going to start off with Joe Piroe start at Leeds United, and Joel Piroe, not Joe Piroe. Joel was speaking to the media about his start to Leeds United and why he chose Leeds over some Premier League interests. And some interesting bits that came out of this as well. Piroe said that when he joined Leeds, he had a conversation with Daniel Farke. Farkas asked him to play in this number 10 role, which he thought was an unusual request considering his career till this point and why Leeds bought him. I would question that as well. However, he said that he feels the role actually suits him quite well and that he's enjoyed playing that position, but he said that he needs to be mindful of his positioning and not drop too deep and get too separated from Georgie Rutter, which has happened at times and did happen a bit last night as well. So he said he needs to be mindful of that and keep an eye on it, but he is very happy playing there. Doesn't want to drop too deep and obviously wants to make sure he's on the goal scoring sheet as well. He mentioned the decision to choose Leeds over interest from the Premier League in himself, and he broke it down to two clear decisions that he had to make. One was, did he want to play less games in the Premier League, or did he want to play more games in the Championship and keep scoring, which he loves to do and wants to do? He chose the latter. He chose to go with playing in the Championship and playing more regularly and scoring more goals. I still question whether Leeds are doing the right thing by playing him in the number 10 position. I still think there's a very obvious swap between him and Rutter. Rutter's better when he gets to run at players from deep. Piroe's a goal scorer. I think again, every time Leeds don't score, we're going to come back to this conversation about why is Joe Piroe not the one in these positions. You see, again, chances missed by Rutter last night. Yes, he has scored a couple of goals this season, but he's missed a lot of chances that I think if you've got someone like Joe Piroe in those positions, he scores them more often than not. So it's still a question mark for me. It's great that Piroe is enjoying it. That's great for him. And, you know, maybe Rutter's going to hit an incredible run of form very, very soon. I am happy. Like, Rutter's playing reasonably well right now. There's no doubt. He's last couple of games he's been pretty good. So maybe it's coming. But I think we've got someone as clinical as Joe Piroe. You play him in the 9. I mean, if you play Rutter in a 10 and Piroe in the 9, you've got one player technically out of position in Rutter. If you play Piroe in the 9 and Rutter in the 10, for me, you've got two players out of position. So I don't know. Let me know what you think, because maybe I'm wrong. Probably am. Piroe has gone on to say that he's formed quite a nice partnership and friendship with Willie Gnonto and Georgino Rutter off the pitch, and they've made it very easy for him to settle at Leeds United. He's also called out the entire squad for making it really easy to settle in the team. There has been multiple people have said about the atmosphere in the Leeds dressing room this season, and when you look at that compared to the last couple of seasons, the newer players that came in last year and the year before, there was all these conversations about fractured dressing room and issues in the dressing room. It doesn't seem to be the case this year. It seems to be very close bond. Farke talks about it quite a lot as well. And now Piroe has called it out as well by saying it's a great group of players. They're very close to each other and they've helped him settle in. Outside of that, he spent most of his time buying furniture for his house. So, you know, settling into Leeds, which is good to see. Somerville, let's move on to have a quick chat about Somerville. He was called out last night for praise from Sky Sports' Lee Hendry, and Lee Hendry basically said that he was excellent last night. Somerville had a tricky game last weekend and wasn't at his normal standard, hanging onto the ball a little too often, getting caught in possession far too often and not creating an awful lot, and as a result of that he found himself on the bench last night. Luckily for him, an injury to Willie Gnonto in the 20th minute gave him an opportunity to come in with plenty of time on the clock, and it has to be said, he was excellent last night. I thought he did an awful lot of things right. He was very unlucky not to score what would have been a really, really good goal with the volley that was saved. A fantastic save by Allsop. It just needed a little bit more on it to get in the back of the net. But had a really, really good game. Lee Hendry has called him out and said that when he came on, Somerville excelled on the pitch and was excellent for Leeds. And was also said he was very unlucky not to score as well, but he had a very, very good game. With Gnonto very likely to miss the game this weekend, it does give Somerville the opportunity to come back in and retake his position. There's also question marks around Daniel James last night. Wasn't great last night. Circumstances in the position might be brought into question on that, but not a particularly great performance from Dan James last night either. So you could look at a position where you could end up with Summerville and Jaden Anthony starting the game at the weekend. I expect changes in that game anyway, outside the forced changes. Let's move on to some good results yesterday, and let's talk about Leeds United under-17s, who had an incredibly impressive win. Leeds under-17s battered Sunderland 9-1 in their game yesterday in what was described as an impressive and ruthless performance. Interesting to see who scored the goals on this as well. 3 goals from new Leeds United signing Louis Piroe is another hat-trick for him. He's had a fantastic start to the season and is expected to continue to score goals coming down from Scotland. 2 goals for the next in the dynasty for Harry Gray, who is still only 14 years of age, possibly just turned 15, but 14, 15 playing under 17 football and scoring 2 goals yesterday, which is a great one for him. Corbin Bird, Sam Chambers, Finlay Gorman and Jacob Brender all bagged a goal each in that performance as well, and a fantastic performance. The Leeds underage teams this season have started the season incredibly well. Same with the Leeds ladies. They've really come out of the blocks this season. It's great to see what's going on at the club right now, that there are strong teams competing all across the different divisions that the different age groups are in as well, and the Leeds women's team as well. They've had a really good start to the season. Who won another game at the weekend, by the way. I didn't cover because obviously didn't do the news earlier in the week, but did get a really good result again at the weekend as well. Another goal for Jess Rossio in that game as well, so she started the season on fire. So it's great to see. Let's move on to talk about another Leeds youngster who's not having the greatest of times right now, and that's Charlie Creswell. And this is just one for me. I was very surprised last night to see the squad and to see Charlie Creswell not in the squad at all. Liam Cooper did make his return last night to the bench, which saw Cresswell drop out of the squad, and then Cooper obviously gets his opportunity when Joe Rodon is sent off and comes into the game, and to be fair, looked really rusty. He did look proper rusty in that game, which is 100% to be expected considering how long Cooper has been out for and the injury that he had, that plantar fascia injury, which is very similar to the one that pretty much ruled Pat Bamford out for over a year. What it should be said from me, my perspective is Cresswell has played well for Leeds when he's been called upon this season, and I think he will be surprised, and I was surprised to see him dropped out of the squad completely for a player who's not 100% fit coming back in. That will be a concern. There's no news on an injury that I've seen around Cresswell, and he has only signed a new deal at the club as well, so I'm assuming he'll be disappointed as well and concerned with the lack of game time that he's had so far this year. It could all change by the weekend. It could all be a different story with the fact that Rodon will miss the game at the weekend. You could see Liam Cooper come in to start. You could even see Creswell come in and start that game on the right hand side of the back four, giving Leeds a right and a left back with Stroke and Creswell, which would be fine. Very minimum, I think you can look at seeing Charlie Creswell come back on the bench and Liam Cooper start the game at the weekend. But yeah, it's a concern for me to see how well Creswell played last season for Millwall. You know, he's done okay for us so far this year. He was handed a number 5 shirt. He signed a brand new contract. He said he wasn't here to make up the numbers, and so far he's just not got a whole lot of game time, which he'll be very disappointed in. Let's move on and talk about Leeds Form home and away, and Sammy Parkin, the former Swindon and St Mirren attacker, was talking to the EFL podcast about Leeds promotion chances, and he pointed out 2 areas that Leeds fans should be keeping an eye on. That's Leeds home form and away form, and patterns that are starting to emerge. Parkin reckons Leeds will shine away from home and will do specifically very, very well against clubs who come out and try and play against Leeds. Unfortunately, not the case last night, even though Hull did try and play against Leeds last night and looked like a very good side, Hull, to be fair. Leeds finishing last night more than anything else was the reason that Leeds didn't pick up a win in that game. Parkin reckons, however, that Leeds will struggle when it comes to playing at Elland Road, and have this season already. He said Leeds yet to win at home in the league this season. Outside of the win against Shrewsbury in the Cup, he did say, like, if you look at Leeds form, Leeds have 3 league games at home. They've drawn 3 of them. They've only scored 3 goals and they've conceded 3 goals as well, and that's so not great. Away from home, you look at Leeds, scored 7 goals, 1 loss, and they've had 2 wins in those games as well with 7 goals away from home, which is a much better performance. Parkin basically has called out the issue here, and I think it's pretty obvious to see. Leeds are struggling when they play against teams who sit deep and are unwilling to come out and leave space for Leeds to get in behind them. We've seen it at home in every game this season. Leeds will have to find a way to deal with low blocks. They've struggled with them this year. They did a bit last season as well. In the Premier League, if teams did sit back and sit in, Leeds struggled to break them down. The lack of a creative number 10 continues to be called out. Joe Piroe, obviously a striker playing in the number 10 position. It's not the same as having a number 10 who can find gaps and find little avenues to put balls through. So it's been an issue. Leeds will have to find ways to get past this. Parkin has said that Leeds can be devastating when they go away from home, but when teams sit back and show no ambition Leeds can struggle to break them down, which, again, as we said, has been seen. Leeds will have an opportunity to fix this and break this duck come the weekend with a home game against Watford. Leeds will be without certain players. Obviously, Joe Rodon will miss that game as well. Willie Gnonto expected to be out of that game with an injury as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what the changes Leeds make. You could see Dan James come out of the team as well, and you could see someone like Jaden Anthony come in, who, obviously from a set piece perspective as well, gives Leeds a little bit more of an advantage. Leeds don't have a real free kick taker outside of Anthony, so that'll be one to keep an eye on as well coming to the weekend. We don't have to wait long for that. We've got a press conference tomorrow to go through that one. And then finally today, just to talk about, can Leeds appeal the Joe Rodon red card? Well, no is the answer. Short answer to that, because it was 2 yellow cards. Any team can appeal can appeal a straight red card, but you can't appeal 2 yellow cards. Leeds could appeal the length of the ban if they feel a ban is excessive in its nature. However, with the situation that Joe Rodon finds himself in, he's likely to miss 1 game. By the time Leeds have actually registered appeal, that'll be this weekend's game gone, and there's no point in actually appealing it. So very unlikely that Leeds will try and appeal it. What it should be said though about the game last night, it was Joe Rodon's first yellow card was clearly not a yellow card. It was clearly not even a foul. He wins the ball in a tough tackle, but wins the ball cleanly. It's a soft free kick. It's a soft yellow card, considering what the referee had let go in that game up until that point. And we saw last week with the Millwall, this new, more lenient approach. We've seen players like Willie Gnonto and Somerville kicked off the park in games, and this was deemed to be a yellow card. However, in this situation, there's 2 things that have to happen. Joe Rodon's got to be smarter, and he's got to keep his bib clean until the end of the game and get through it without a second incident. And Leeds as a club and the management team in a situation like this need to be smart as well and have a look and go, well, could they take him off in this situation and bring on somebody else and make sure they don't lose him for games. Both things didn't happen. Gets a second yellow card, and he will miss this weekend's game against Watford. He has been so good for Leeds this season that it's going to be a huge loss, but Pascal Stroke has been excellent since probably the second game of the season on. You could have the option then of Cooper or Creswell coming in beside him then as well. I think we'll be okay in the back line anyway, but it is a huge loss to miss Rodon because he's been so good this season. Anyway, that's going to be it for me today, folks. Thanks as always for watching and supporting the channel. And a reminder that Joe's show tonight, 9 p.m, for the full match review of Leeds United versus Hull City and a breakdown of what happened last night. See you then, or I'll see you tomorrow morning. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.